Hello and welcome. Here we're going to have a look at the targets and indicators in SDG 16. As you can see, there are 12 targets in SDG 16 and 24 indicators. This means that SDG 16 is one of the most populated of the SDGs in relation to number of targets and number of indicators. So here I'm going to review the extended report, which I'd like you all to read through. I don't expect anyone to memorize any of the statistics or any of the data in it, but it would be great if you could have a look and familiarize yourself with the type of information and the kind of information that's contained in this, and maybe have a look at some of the trends and some of the sort of interesting features of the information that we can take. There are a number of surprising statistics in this. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to go through a number of the ones that I find most interesting. So let's start. So we're going to start with target 16.1, significantly reduce all forms of violence and related deaths everywhere. The first indicator on this is 1.1, which is the number of victims of intentional homicide per 100,000 population by sex and age. And it starts out by saying that homicide rates are declining in most regions, but the gender disaggregated data highlights significant differences in progress between men and women across the region, and the data certainly backs that up. In terms of the numbers, it says that there's over 437,000 victims of homicide globally, and this means effectively that every hour there's about 50 people killed intentionally. The overwhelming majority of the homicides were male, 82%, with the remaining 18% being female. On the upside, between 2015 and 2020, the global rate of homicide declined by 5.2%. Another interesting statistic is that as of 2020, around 58% of all female homicides committed globally were perpetrated by intimate partners or other family members, people whom they would normally be expected to know and trust. In contrast, only 10% of male homicides were committed in the private sphere. Indicator 16.1.2, conflict-related deaths per 100,000 population by sex, age and cause. Significant loss of life and threats to civilians continue despite the decrease in the number of recorded conflict-related deaths. In 2021, if you look at the statistics there is a very significant and good result there. That from 2015 to 2021, the number of deaths reduced there from just under 70,000 to just over 10,000, which is encouraging. But of course, that's to do with all the conflicts that were ongoing at the time. The fluctuation in the number of civilian deaths seen in several armed conflicts since 2015 point to the continued and ongoing risks of escalation and associated violations of international human rights and international humanitarian law, as seen in early 2022. Unless and until armed conflicts are ended, they will continue to affect all segments of society and hit the most vulnerable the hardest. In 12 of the world's deadliest armed conflicts, the figures translate to 4.1 conflict-related deaths per 100,000 population, and 1 in 8 of those deaths was a woman or a child. The major cause of death there was small arms and light weapons, followed by heavy weapons and explosives. Indicator 16.1.3, proportion of population subjected to either physical violence, psychological violence, and or sexual violence in the previous 12 months. They don't give any statistics for this in the report, but you can look up some agencies if you want to find out more detailed statistics on it. They are, of course, quite difficult parameters to monitor. Indicator 16.1.4, proportion of population that feels safe walking alone around the area they live after dark. This I find a very interesting set of statistics. So feeling unsafe in public can negatively influence well-being and hinder development. While perception of safety has remained quite stable at the global level over the past 6 years, women continue to feel significantly less safe compared to men when walking alone in the area in which they live after dark. A couple of statistics that surprised me a little were particularly Australia and New Zealand, that only 55 and 54% of people felt safe walking around at night. Interesting also that Eastern Asia and Southern Eastern Asia score higher than Europe and North America, although of course there are lots of places in both areas where it would be significantly more dangerous and less dangerous depending on where you were. And noticeably, consistently across the world, males in general feel safer when walking alone at night. So that's the end of the first four indicators associated with target 16.1.